Hello, listeners, and welcome to Simon Says Let's Talk Business on Business RadioX. This is your host, Al Simon, with Sandler Training, and I am pumped for today's show. We've got two tremendous guests. On this show, Simon Says Let's Talk Business, we spotlight professionals and the excellent companies that they represent. We discuss best practices in business today. So listeners, listen carefully, and if you are where you can take notes, you're going to want to take notes. And especially when we talk about the best practices and when our guests give their contact information in case you would like to contact them. We have two excellent guests today. We have Emma Reynolds-Middleton. Emma is CEO and Master Trainer. That's a great title. That's one I use too. CEO and Master Trainer for Soft Skills Zone, LLC. We'll be talking to Emma here in a second. And then we've got John Lauth, who is the CEO and President of Courier Connection, Inc., which certainly an interesting time for your business, John. Looking forward to having you share with us your best practices.
Thank you for letting me come on.
Excellent. Okay, so Emma, let's start with you. Now, this is interesting. I almost said Soft Skills Zone, LLC. This is stuff that's very near and dear to my heart, as you and I have spoken before.
Yes.
Because as a sales trainer and coach, a lot of the effectiveness of people in business has to do with how they communicate. And not just how they talk, right, but how they listen as well.
There is a difference.
Yeah, so I'm interested in hearing your input on that. But first of all, why don't you give us some context? Tell us about your journey. How did you get here?
It's a very exciting journey. It goes back actually to when I was young. And back in the day...
You're still young.
Well, thank you so much, Al. Back in the day when we would go outside and play, which may be foreign in today's time, I remember that oftentimes I would be the teacher when we would play games outside. And fast forwarding as I went to school, to college, and actually went into the military, the very first job I was offered was that of teaching. And I said to myself, I am not a teacher. And with that, I continued along my track, which was that of operations and analytical type work.
Oh, that's exciting.
Very exciting to me with a degree in business. Yet, at the same time, I've always been engaged in the community, and I've always been engaged in teaching. I started out teaching in my church through various Bible studies, and from there began to teach communication classes and other classes. And it was then that I discovered my true passion, which is teaching. And so I've been teaching through nonprofit organizations and other organizations, and eventually I started my own business training, and now I am full of joy in the training space.
It shows. The listeners can't see it, but they can hear it in your voice. You are smiling away.
That is correct.
Yes. Now, soft skills. Okay, we need to know, what are soft skills?
Well, one way, and perhaps the best way to talk about soft skills, is to say that soft skills are the skills that help individuals not only get the job, but those are the skills that help individuals keep the job. And with that, soft skills are the communication skills, the team building skills, the critical thinking skills, which are so very needed in today's time. Yes. It's those skills that would help individuals in every area, not only in their profession, but personally.
Excellent. Yes. Now, so it's really about how you connect with people, isn't it?
That is correct.
It really is. Plus the strategic thinking part, which is which tends to drive how we communicate with people.
Yes.
And connect with people. Now, you mentioned to me before that there's this thing called the soft skills gap.
There is.
Now, what is a soft skills gap?
Well, the soft skill gap, and you can research this, it is a gap. Now, for the listening audience, if you were to go with me on this journey, and let's say there are two individuals and we have two sets of glasses. Now, the first individual, we'll call that individual the employer.
Okay.
And the second individual, that is the job applicant or the individual in the workforce.
Okay.
So what has happened is that each one has his or her view. In other words, the employer sees the applicant and the skills that are necessary in one way, and then on the other hand, you have the candidate who sees things differently.
I'm sure
and
they do.
So now let's talk about the gap.
Okay.
Now, as the job applicant, of course, in many cases, those individuals are well skilled. In other words, they're going to college, and so they're getting those technical hard skills,
Okay.
which is very good.
Knowledge-based stuff.
Knowledge-based stuff.
Okay.
And so through their lens or through their glasses, they're seeing themselves very qualified and ready for the workforce.
Absolutely. I know stuff.
Yes, and
Yes.
I've spent hundreds of thousands or thousands of dollars on this degree.
Yes.
It must equate to an excellent job. Now, on the other hand, what happens is employers are really beginning to see and say that hard skills or the technical skills which individuals go to school for alone is not enough.
Yes.
It is not enough. In fact, studies are showing more and more that employers really prefer the soft skills over the hard skills.
Which ones?
Specifically, communication.
Yes. Okay.
Companies are losing millions. There's one report that shows $64 million per year in lost productivity
Yeah.
because of the lack of communication.
Wow.
And then there's team building, and then there's critical thinking. What's important to employers is as you, the individual in the workforce, see a problem on the job, what solutions can you bring to the table to your employer to get them out of that situation? And so they're looking for job applicants and employees who have solutions to their problems.
Okay. And then on the team building side, are you looking for culture fit and things like that? Are you looking for team player type skills or aptitudes?
All of the above.
Okay. And you teach all this?
I do teach all of that.
Okay, good. I'm going to ask you about how you do that here in a second.
Yes.
But first of all, I want to run a scenario by you, okay?
Yes.
And so this is, when I'm coaching my clients, the employers, the managers, the bosses, I coach them on interviewing and their hiring process. Okay, so and what you said made me think about this. So I'm going to tell you what I coach them to do, and you tell me if it makes any sense or if I should change it. Fair?
Okay. Yes.
And it's okay to tell me I need to change it, all right?
Sounds great.
Okay, so I tell them that they should start with a phone interview of no more than 10 minutes. It's just to see if the person can carry on a phone conversation using good grammar, excellent tonality, phraseology, and such. That's it. And then after the 10-minute phone conversation, to ask them to have the applicant send in an email, no more than one paragraph, to tell them how they see them being a fit in their company, in this company. And that is the only reason for that is two things. One is to see if they'll send in that email on time, and secondly, to see if they can put sentences together in a business email. That's it.
Yes.
And then after that, to have them, if they make the cut on that, then have them come in for face-to-face interviews. So what do you think about that process?
Those are very good screening tools because from an employer's perspective, you want to hire a candidate that's a fit for your organization. And so during those process and those recommendations, an employer can get a feel of that potential candidate, and it's showing, for example, their ability to respond back in a prompt manner. It's a way to evaluate their writing abilities as well as their communication abilities. So during that process, the soft skills are being evaluated. Yes. And again, what employers want and should look for during the interview process is the best candidate that will fit their organization.
Good.
So those tools are good.
Okay.
Yes.
Excellent. So I should not change that process.
It's a good process.
Okay, good. So now I want to ask you, so you do training, coaching on those three big things you said, communication, team building, and critical thinking. And I'm curious as to, for especially critical thinking, how you teach that. So tell us about your services. How do you go about working with your clients?
Well, I am fortunate to, because of the space, because soft skills really spans across all industries, I have worked with the college systems.
Okay.
And as we know, each generation has a way to communicate. Right now, there are 5 generations in the workforce. Every generation. You have the traditionalists, you have the baby boomers, the Gen X, the millennials, the Gen Zers. Every generation. I know. Imagine the employer. Imagine the breakdown of communication because of all of the generations. And what happens is that each generation communicates differently.
Yes, they do.
When you look at the traditionalists, for example, or even the baby boomers, they're more likely to prefer written communications. And then there are those that prefer the phone calls on the workforce. But as we move forward and we look at the younger generations, we look at the millennials and the Gen Zers, as most of us know, texting is their preferred way to communicate.
Crazy. They're crazy.
So, yes, it is. So one of the
no, they are.
Well, that's a matter of opinion.
Although I've noticed my mother-in-law texts a lot these days, and I don't, and she is certainly not a Gen Xer, so
yes.
or a millennial. Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
All right. So who is your client? Is your client the employer, or is your client the candidate, or both?
It is both.
Okay.
It is both because for the employer, I work with them to provide the training to their staff, for example, to close any gaps that their people may have on the job. And even as they're looking at new hires, I can provide the training, whether it is communication, professionalism is another topic that's often taught to employers for their staff. And then when we look at the actual candidate or potential job employee, those skills are being taught to them, because one benefit of the training at Soft Skills Zone is that after the individual has taken I have a track, for example, that leads to an actual soft skill credential.
Okay.
And so that is proven helpful, because now that individual can take the credential with them and even include it as a part of their package to present to the employer to show that they have mastery of the basic soft skills that can include a professionalism, communication, team building, and critical thinking. Awesome. So it's a win-win on both sides.
So can you give us some insight as to how you actually teach critical thinking?
Critical thinking is more of an experiential learning process.
Okay.
What I mean by that is that during the class modules, there are activities, so that, especially, for example, an individual who's right-brained and typically is more creative.
Yes.
That can be challenging to help them to channel energy, to think logically and systematic. So what I do is I use games and activities to break down any typical thought processes and help individuals to think beyond their normal patterns of thinking.
That is interesting. So it's like exercising a muscle. Then you
yes,
you
that
give
is
them
correct.
Experiences where they start to then exercise that muscle of critical thinking.
Yes.
How cool is that?
Yes, it's very cool.
Yeah, Emma, this is tremendous, and what you teach is very much needed in this world. And so I am so glad that you do this, and I know I can give you referrals.
Yes, thank you.
From my client base in my sphere of influence.
Yes.
Now, for our listeners out there who may want to contact you, whether they're employers or whether they are looking for a job, how do they go about? What's the best way to go about contacting you?
Well, first you can visit the website, The website is www.softskillzone.com.
Okay.
And my email address is emma@softskillzone.com. And the phone number is 678-524-3343.
Okay, so those of you who got challenged looking for your pen while she was saying that, the website is www.softskillzone.com, and her email is emma@softskillzone.com, and Emma is EMMA.
Yes.
And then the phone number, 678-524-3343.
Correct.
Got it?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. Well, that's I'm sure our listeners are going to want to contact you. Soft skills are huge, huge. Being able to connect with people, communicate. For employers, those team building skills are really important because of culture, because of productivity in a team environment, and certainly professionalism. My goodness, I've got some people I want you to talk to already about professionalism, and then critical thinking.
Yes.
And I love how you do that. You give them experiences to exercise that muscle. Emma, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Emma Reynolds-Middleton at Soft Skills Zone LLC. And once again, this is your host, Al Simon, with Sandler Training on Business Radio X. The show is called Simon Says, Let's Talk Business. You know, speaking of all these different millennials and such, and different ages of people in the workforce, fewer and fewer people know what Simon Says is these days. It's really sad. It's really sad.
We'll work on it.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Okay. Well, let's pivot to our second guest, John Lauth. John is the CEO and president of Courier Connection, Inc. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So I got a whole bunch of questions for you, obviously, but first of all, I guess Courier Connection Inc. Everybody knows what a courier is, but yours is a little bit different, right? Why don't you tell us about your company?
We're a same-day rush courier service. We do a lot of medical delivery. I've got a fleet of cars, vans, dock-high trucks, and refrigerated trucks. I've got a 22,000 square foot warehouse where we store supplies and do cross-docking. We run a live 24-hour call center. And when it needs to get there fast, our group is the one who does that. We move a lot of medical, a lot of blood, a lot of specimens. We move a lot of heavy machine parts, critical needs parts, and then we move food for different food distributors and purveyors. So if it needs to get there fast, we're the guys that get it there with tracking and GPS.
Okay. So, John, how did you get started in this industry?
I had a job when I was at the University of Georgia back in 1985. A college roommate had an aunt that worked at a law firm that did closings, and long and short of, I got a job being a courier for these guys during the summer of 1985. Did that for 3 summers, and when I graduated in 88, I got together with those guys later on, and we built a courier company from about 89 till 97, and it was just seemed like an exciting industry. It was a lot of fun, and we grew that up. I was bought out just before the sale in 97, and I was on a paid non-compete. And in 99, I just kind of took the proceeds from that and started this one alone in 1999 with no partners, no banks, no investors, and just took the knowledge I had and started this business. So we'll be 21 years old in April.
That's tremendous. So you just dove into the pool.
Yes. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
During the non-compete, I kind of interviewed around a little bit. I'm a pilot as well, and I thought about becoming an airline pilot as well. So I did some more extensive training and got pretty close to doing that. But a very close friend said, you would probably be better being an entrepreneur. You probably wouldn't want to stay in a hotel 4 nights a week and be on the backside of the clock all the time. You love flying, but I don't know that you want to actually do it for a living. It was good advice. So I'm able to incorporate both into what I do.
Yeah, when I met you, we talked a little bit about that. In fact, we could probably do a whole show just on Angel Flight. That charity that you're involved in is a tremendous, tremendous charity that you do.
We love Angel Flight. They're awesome. We've been involved with those guys since the early 90s, very heavily for the last probably 15 years. We're actually on the board of Angel Flight with my wife. So it's a great, amazing charity. Basically, we fly folks all over the place for their treatments. People either can't be on an airliner because of the germs and that sort of thing, or they've just run out of funds and they're just tapped out and they can't afford to make the trips to the treatments and that sort of thing. So we've been doing that for many years. It's very rewarding. if you're ever looking for a charity, that's a great one. Angel Flight of Georgia. All the money goes right into actually helping the patients.
Okay, Angel Flight of Georgia. Yeah, that's good to keep in mind. I guess we ought to focus on Courier Connection, though, for today's purposes. And I'm curious about that, about Courier Connection today. And, you do a lot of medical work, and certainly with the COVID-19 virus. Has that changed anything about what y'all do?
I'm sort of watching it pretty heavily every day. Obviously, some of our customer base has slowed down a little bit, but our medical base has ramped up. So we've been pretty steady. We're part of the supply chain, blood and medicine and specimens and, supplies for the medical industry. All that has to go regardless of what's going on, whether it's wartime or snow or whatever it is. We run a live 24-hour operation, and we serve that community very heavily. We've been doing it for about 15 years now. So it's, we're just part of the supply chain that just, keeps the food on the shelves and the supplies needed to where they go. So it's a tough time right now. We see so many industries. A lot of our customers are shutting down. A lot of our other non-medical customers are shutting down, and that's tough because, everybody has to eat and pay their bills.
Exactly. Okay, so it's just going to be interesting to see how the next few weeks, couple months play out for you and for a lot of us in our businesses with what's going on. John, tell us about the technology that you use. It must be pretty critical for your business.
Yeah, we've got several pieces of technology we use. We've got some industry-specific software that we use that obviously does order entry, online order entry, tracking, GPS live tracking. We see our drivers on a color moving map in real time. Customers can log in and see what's going on with their deliveries. They get instant email confirmations on every order and pickup and delivery. So we see the whole, United States. Basically, we run Atlanta in at least a 15-hour driving distance. So at any one time, we have drivers really all over the Southeast, and we can see them in real time. We utilize a lot of the Google mapping to help them get to where they need to be. So we rely heavily on the internet. We're very excited about, there's some new technology coming out. It's artificial intelligence technology. It's auto dispatch. So we're doing anywhere from 1,100 to 1,400 moves a day.
Wait, and 1,100 to 1,400 a day?
A day, yes, in the Atlanta market. So, the AI technology will allow us to...
So your drivers are responsible for the traffic problems we have around here. Just kidding, John.
Yeah.
Actually, there's no traffic these days. Yes. I'm sorry. I'll stop interrupting you. Talk about AI.
No, traffic is good this year. Traffic is very good this week. But we don't want to enjoy good traffic at the peril of other people. So we'd rather sit in traffic and everybody be working and prosperous. So it's a little bit easier for us in terms of traffic.
Yes.
So the AI technology what it'll enable us to do is we'll be able to feed work in there, and it'll determine kind of very quickly who should get what, kind of route optimize a little better, and help us make better decisions. So it really enhances what we do. It's very similar to Uber. When you get into an Uber cab, there's not a dispatcher or somebody that's deciding which driver should pick you up. It's an algorithm that decides who should pick you up based on distance and time and vehicle size and that sort of thing. So there's a couple of software providers that are on the cutting edge of that right now. So we're looking very hard at that. And as soon as the one we're looking at seriously, as soon as they get it working really properly, we're going to go with them. So we're very excited about that's what the future of our business looks like. That'll enhance what we do and allow us to take on a lot more work and just do it more efficiently, and then allow us to communicate back to our customers much faster. So it's all about figuring out a way to serve your customer better.
Okay, so people that need to use your services are folks that have to get it somewhere today, and it's very critical that it gets there, right?
Yeah, or not only today, but within the hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, live 24/7. So It could be anything from a machine part. It could be we're delivering lunch today to a couple groups. As I watch my screen, we deliver palletized food to restaurants all over the region, or to any facility that needs it, whether it's a university or a senior care place or anywhere that needs food. So really anything that needs to move fast. That's what we do. We kind of fill a niche where UPS and FedEx do not. They're kind of overnight. We're right now.
Right now. And you've got different kinds of vehicles for different kinds of purposes, right?
Oh, sure. We've got cars, vans, dock-high trucks, refrigerated trucks, really everything out there. We don't have motorcycles or bikes. I know they use those in Europe, but we have a pretty a pretty good variety of vehicles. And we've got some company-owned fleet, and then we've got owner-operator independent contractors as well.
Okay.
John, I was wondering, what type of lead time do you need for the orders or requests that you receive?
It depends on where it's going and what time of day. Typically, let's say you have an order coming in, you call us right now, it's 12 o'clock, and you say, I'm on Peachtree Street and it needs to get to the airport. How quick can you get there? Our folks can look on our screens who our closest driver is, and they can tell you kind of immediately. You might have a driver 5 minutes from you, you might have a driver 20 minutes from you, and they'll pick it up and run it directly where it needs to go, and you'll be updated the whole time.
That's tremendous. So AI is the future of your business, huh?
It is. AI is the future of our business. You know, they talk about autonomous vehicles. I think the technology's not there. I've driven the Tesla with their autopilot function, and
Have you?
It's nice, but it's like when I fly my airplane, it has autopilot, but man, you got to watch the thing the whole time. I can't tell you how many times that thing will not do what it's supposed to. So it's really an enhancement to what we do. And I guess I've got a feeling we're a little ways away from autonomous driving. But in our industry, even if you get the package to the front door, much of what we do, there's a lot of places to go. It's not just dropping it off like a person. With Uber, for example, you've got to know where you're going, what lab, what blood bank, what door, what refrigerator, who you see, chain of custody, correct signature, barcode scanning. Sometimes we deliver, pharmaceutical, and there may be narcotics and all that sort of stuff. So, autonomous vehicles won't get the package out and on. So everything would have to change. And I just think we're not there yet. I mean, all it's going to take is somebody to be run over or somebody's child is run over on an autonomous vehicle. And then the liabilities are insane. And then, what about the hacking of that sort of stuff? So there's a whole bunch of things that we have to be concerned about before we say autonomous vehicles are with us.
And I can't help but think about Emma's services when I think about your drivers, right? They have to be able to think clearly and act well.
Yes, it's very important. Our independent contractors and our employee drivers are, they're the backbone of what we do. When you think about, for example, UPS driver, when you think of UPS, you really just think of that driver. When you think of the company, you think of the driver that comes every day. And that's very similar to us. We've been very blessed to have a really great team of independent contractors over the years. Looking back, I can remember getting phone calls from customers, and we've had independent contractors who were down for surgery. We had one driver, he had like a blood clot in his leg, and I think half a dozen of his daily customers he delivered to were calling to see how he was doing. His name was Rusty, and they were like, how's Rusty doing? Is he okay now? And, so they build a relationship with our customers, and very much like you see a FedEx or UPS driver does. That's
tremendous. Tremendous. So mission-critical stuff. In fact, both you and Emma, mission-critical stuff, and our listeners need to plug into the two of you. So, John, if our listeners want to contact you or your company, what's the best way to do it?
There's a couple of ways. It's courierconnection.com is a way to visit us online, or anybody can call me directly. You can call me. Here's my direct cell. I'll give that out, 404-357-1223. Or John at courierconnection.com. We can put together a customized delivery network for you, or help you. We sit down with customers. We say, let us take a look at your business and see how we can, keep some money in your pocket in terms of what you're already doing. Some people ship with LTL or ship overnight with UPS or FedEx in the Atlanta local market, and we can definitely save them some money doing that. And it doesn't go from one cross dock to another to potentially be damaged. We pick it up and deliver it straight to where it's going. So a lot of people who aren't used to using groups like us find it can actually be a better solution to what they're already doing.
Absolutely. Sounds like it could be. So once again, that's courierconnection.com. Email is John, John, at courierconnection.com, and the phone number. And I appreciate you talk about critical mission here. You actually give your cell phone numbers, 404-357-1223. John, thank you so much.
And we live and breathe this business, so it's not uncommon for us to be running, at all hours of the night. This is what we live and breathe. It's a passion for us, and we love it.
Excellent. Well, John, I really appreciate what you do, and I know that the medical community and the food service community, entertainment, catering, trucking, automotive, and there's so much you do. Thank you for what you do, and appreciate you being on the show today. And Emma, thank you for being on the show today, talking about soft skills and how critical that is, and how people need to sharpen their soft skills. And it really is important in business today. So, again, Emma Reynolds-Middleton, CEO and master trainer with Soft Skills Zone, LLC. John Lauth, CEO and president of Courier Connection, Inc. Great show today, and I'm going to finish it as I always do with a little bit about sales. And of course, today, what's on everybody's mind is social distancing in this virus-infused world we have, and of course, my clients want to know. Okay, so does that mean sales is just going to dry up for a little while, or maybe a long while? What does it mean? And so it's not a question that a listener has sent me, but it is a question that I've gotten many times in the last couple of weeks, which is, what is the best way to prospect and sell in this current distancing environment? And we're going to do a series of webinars on this. We're going to do one for the Gwinnett Chamber here soon, and also for a group that John is involved with, which is Entrepreneur Organization. We're going to be doing that. But basically, it's this. You can imagine in this environment where there are people who are sitting at home at their computer. Most people are sitting at home at their computer with their phone by their side. Now, what we're seeing so far is that they're not necessarily picking up the phone as much when it rings, but they're still letting it go to voicemail like they usually do even at their office. But what they are doing is they're engaging a bunch on social media and through email, because they're right there at their computer most of the day. They're not in meetings, face-to-face meetings inside their office. They're not on airplanes. They're not driving on the interstates. They are actually sitting at their computer, and they are conducting business that way, which means from a prospecting standpoint, you can engage with people digitally. You can engage with people on social media. My LinkedIn is absolutely going nuts, in fact, in the last few days. And so I'm telling sales professionals and their managers, do not take your foot off the accelerator. Now, be careful. You don't want to look like you're trying to take advantage of the situation, but you should be pretty much business as usual with regard to prospecting and for selling. And you can do sales calls, live sales calls by phone, conference call. Certainly use Zoom or GoToMeeting or FaceTime or Google Hangouts. And in fact, it's good if you would encourage your prospects and clients to turn their cameras on, because people are going to start to crave that face-to-face, because they're not going to have it for several weeks probably. So they're going to start to crave that face-to-face. And Emma will tell you that body language and that facial expression and that change in body language and change in facial expression are so important in terms of having a connection with people. So I would urge you, it's common in business for people to use a tool like Zoom or GoToMeeting, but not turn their cameras on and treat it just like it was an audio conference call. But I would urge you to go ahead and turn your camera on and urge your prospects and clients to turn their cameras on and get that face-to-face going on. You can do sales calls that way. You can do prospecting that way. So my father-in-law was heavily involved in racing, and he used to talk about accelerating out of the curve. If you think about it, we would be in trouble if we were to shut down selling during this virus environment. And then once it was contained and over and we all go back to our offices and quote, business as usual, our pipelines would be empty. And that is death for salespeople when your pipeline is empty. We have to make sure we're keeping our pipelines full, keep the foot on the accelerator, and accelerate out of the curve. And that's the best way to treat it. And that's the tip from Simon Says Let's Talk Business on Business Radio X. Thank you for joining us for the show. Simon Says Let's Talk Business on Business Radio X. Good selling.